So, welcome everybody to the World of Ability Podcast Network. My name is Emily Gilmer and I'm a podcast engineer here, and excited to bring you another episode of Revolutionize Your Marketing. Revolutionize Your Marketing with Mill City Marketing MA. John Pedros. Been doing the last several months. And like the name suggests, talking a little bit about marketing and how to you're in your organization, and other things connected with ways to put yourself out there. You do this show every Friday at 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central. But with nothing further to do, I'll bring in John to kick us off today, and introduce our great guest. So, welcome, John.
Hey, Emily. How's it going today?
Good.
Folks, we have a special guest on today, Margaret De Bruyn. I believe I pronounced that last name right.
Yeah.
She is a mindset coach. As I said in some of my past podcasts, mindset has a lot to do with not only marketing, but also running a business. Welcome, Margaret.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. And you are so right. Mindset has a lot to do with marketing and business.
All right, so let's let everybody know who you are, where you're from, and how you get to where you are today.
Okay. So I'm Margaret De Bruyn. I am a mindset coach. I am in McAllen, Texas, which just think the very bottom of America. Like I'm about 10 miles from Mexico. You can't get much more south than I am. And what I do is work with business owners and individuals to help them get unstuck, even when they don't realize they're stuck. So often things that I see happen is, it's perfect time, 2025, new year, we all have our goals set, right? Yeah. So the statistics say that only 3% of us actually have written goals, and less than 15% of us have mental goals. And so therefore, how are we going to accomplish those goals if we don't create strategic plans? Believe it or not, this is a form of being stuck. So a lot of times business owners don't see how they're stuck. They don't see how they're stuck, especially, I think a great one is in relationship to their marketing. So I help individuals and business owners break free from patterns of behaviors, limiting beliefs, and maladaptive things that we carry from our past that are holding us back from receiving abundance, being open-minded, getting the clients that we want, having the right mindset to welcome those clients into our world. And from there, we go on so that business owners can really capitalize and create not just businesses that get leads and that get clients, but that you create the business you want and you create the environment so that you get the type of clients that you want. So that's a little bit about me and what I do. My program is called Love It, Leave It, or Redefine It. I do one-on-one coaching, group coaching, as well as I have women's weekends 4 times a year, and those are intensives. They're a lot of fun, and everybody who goes has, and I say everybody, 100% success rate of people getting a turnaround and an outcome. As for how I got here, I've been in corporate America for over 20 years, primarily in the financial services and banking industry. I was the CEO of a corporation, and along my journey decided that I wanted to break away from the corporate world and start helping small business owners. And so I started in the consulting world, and during that time I also had a med spa and knew what it was like. I kind of took my knowledge and experience and said, look, here, I'm going to create my own workshop lab so that you can all see what I'm not just sitting here telling you what to do, I'm doing what I'm saying. And now I just do my coaching and consulting because my passion is really helping people be the leaders of their lives so that they can be the leaders of their businesses.
Interesting. It's good. Yeah, it's like what I do. I try to help businesses be better. So I like working with small businesses myself because they don't want to get hit the hardest by COVID. And COVID's done a lot of messing around with people's mindset too.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things is it's really instead of creating an environment where people want to engage and go out and do the reach out, people retracted, and there's more armor up, right? And we now, once you started to come back out of COVID, it's like you would think that it would be this great, oh, we're free, kind of like kids at recess, right? But it didn't work that way. And in some states, it wasn't that way. For some of us, I know down here in Texas, we had the state, our governor said it was, yeah, you're free. And then COVID actually really hit. And so, there's been kind of this ebb and flow. And I think, like you said, like the business environment has not gone back to what it was before COVID.
No, it hasn't. And that's one of the problems. I mean, you got all these small businesses out there that a lot of them, especially up here around me, didn't come back from COVID. And some that did couldn't get their customers back because of what you just said. You put that armor up. I'm feeling part of that myself. My wife tried to keep me out of really crowded places because when COVID was around, I spent the week at Christmas time in the hospital.
Mm.
And it was fun. It was a vacation for me. But according to my doctor, I was worse off than what I thought I was. Mm. It's not always a good thing when you come out from being in the hospital for a week and 2 weeks later you go to see a doctor and says that he was keeping tabs on me every day. He really thought COVID was taking me out.
Oh, wow.
Not a thing you want to hear after spending a week in the hospital.
No, definitely not.
But it doesn't faze me too much right now. It phases my wife more than it does me.
Well, I think it brought to many of us how fragile life is, and where I think that people felt certainty, it shook that certainty. And as a business owner, it definitely had that effect, right? Depending on what state you were in, it was, could you even be open? And, I know here in Texas, they were more restrictive on certain types of businesses. So, I can say, like, for me during that time, I had a med spa, and part of my med spa was able to be open. Part of it was not, and it was also that, like, having to fill out forms, take people's temperatures, track, did so-and-so, if so-and-so got sick, now what clients do you have to call and say, like, hey, you might have been exposed to COVID, right? Like, and it just, it added a whole different layer of anxiety and uncertainty into the world that we didn't turn around and give people the coping skills to process and deal with.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's why mindset's got a lot to do with businesses. Because part of the reason I think some businesses couldn't get their customer base back is because they couldn't get their mindset back in to the project of, hey, it is what it is. We have to make some adjustments. And they were more concerned. They were, in a good way, they were more concerned about their customers than themselves.
I think they got stuck, right? Like, I mean, COVID was a big getting stuck. I mean, there's no other way to put it, right? Because first of all, you got stuck because, life put you in this holding pattern. But then it was, when you came back out, it was, okay, how are we going to do this? and you're already kind of coming from a scarcity mentality, because if you weren't in scarcity mentality before, if you had to shut down your business for a month, 2 months, right? That's scary. And all of a sudden you're like, my resources just got shrunk. And how do I start over? And, I know that I can say, both on the coaching side as well as on, as someone who had a brick and mortar business, right? It was how you marketed, how you reached out to people now changed and was totally different. And it created a shift, because as much as people were home and they were on technology, how they wanted to interact with the world had changed. And that was a big factor.
Yeah, and one of the other things that I noticed that COVID brought on too, which in my words is a good thing. A lot of people realized they didn't have to go out and go to work. A lot of people were finding things that they could do themselves from home. And yeah, it kind of maybe hurt the economy a little bit, but in the long run, it's helping the economy too. It kind of like goes both ways. But that changed a lot of people's mindsets too, is to, hey, I'm not held down to a job. I can go out and do this on my own.
Well, and how people spend money changed, right? So
Yeah.
A perfect, example for us, and I can just use like my other business, my med spa, was to say, you had all these people who were very concerned what other people thought, right? So they were concerned about their looks. They were concerned about how fat they were, if they had wrinkles, if they had all of these things. And now all of a sudden you're at home, you're in your sweats, right? And so some of that for the good, I feel like, for people's mental state, it changed. And so it was about pivoting. We as a business had to pivot in that sense about our marketing message. And I think that that's one of the things that I see is so critical, whether it is about you in your own life or whether it is about you in your business, is agility. And you have to be agile. And whether you want to call that pivoting, adaptable, whatever that word is, I think that one of the challenges is that people just really didn't understand or see, and I think are still struggling to see, that the landscape has changed and they need to be agile and to be more fluid so that they can flow with it, as opposed to trying to get it to go back to the way it was.
Yeah, my opinion, I don't think it's going to go back all the way to where it was. It may go part of the way back, but it's really changed the way people think and look at life. Like you said earlier, they realize how precious life is. And you never know how long you're going to be here for, so a lot of people are realizing that now, and that they're taking things a lot more at heart than what they used to.
Yeah. Well, and I think that changes the landscape of marketing, right? Yeah. And how do we reach people? And then the whole concept that people's attention span is now down to like a nanosecond. And I find it really interesting, as we are having this conversation and talking about marketing, we are on the verge, the eve of TikTok, which for many became a selling platform, an advertising platform, a platform where people could talk about what they do, who they are, show off their business, is, going to vanish.
Yeah, speaking of TikTok, I just saw something that came out on the internet a while ago, maybe a couple of hours ago. The biggest TikToker out there, Mr. Beast, is thinking about possibly buying TikTok.
Well, and this TikTok thing is a real thing, and I don't think so. I am kind of a TikToker. I've been actually on TikTok since before COVID. Like, I was one of the original. Like, I wasn't videoing. I was a voyeur. I can own that. And I make content on there now. But what I think is so interesting is I don't really think that people have grasped, or the people in power have grasped, how this is unique from other social media networks, in the sense that TikTok is about communities. And these people in TikTok, like, and I can tell you, I'm in a couple of different communities, but they know each other. And they didn't just know each other via TikTok, they like get together. People from all over the country have come together. And, you know, I have watched TikTok be used to create communities of people who didn't know each other, who've come together, who raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for, you know, heart issues, who have raised, you know, tens of thousands of dollars for people in need. And what's interesting is people who would have never met each other didn't just connect. It's like they have conversations with each other through their videos, right? And then they fly to see each other, and people have met and dated and fallen in love and gotten married. So it's a very different thing than I feel like any of the other social media platforms. I do feel like it's going to be interesting how this plays out, because you have, you have a couple of complexities. So one, TikTokers are saying, that's great, we're going to go use a different platform. Everybody migrate over here. And the irony of it is one of them is a Chinese platform. So it's like the whole concept that this is a US platform that's connected to China. Now we're just going to go to the Chinese platform and be in China. And everything's written, like everything, the app literally went from being all in Mandarin to, in a matter of a week, now being Mandarin and English. That is, they call them the TikTok refugees. So like, obviously that didn't solve anything. You didn't get rid of China with that one. And then the other thing is, there are a lot of people who feel in the TikTok space that this was really done to kind of drive people back to Meta and back to Facebook and Instagram. And so a lot of these TikTok people are like, we're not doing it. People who used to be on multiple platforms are now saying, you want to take TikTok away and try and push us back to Instagram or Facebook? No, we're just going to drop off Instagram and Facebook too then, and we're going to go do another platform, right? So I think it's going to be really interesting, because this is all a different way than how society and communities have functioned in the past.
Yeah, it's like the marketing that I do. When I took a course online like 5.5 years ago, we were taught how to do marketing on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and now it's kind of like Facebook kind of costs more now than what it did then to put ads on. The cheapest one was TikTok, and now that may be going away. So it's pushing a little bit on the marketing end.
And I think it does, and it presents an interesting, conundrum to the extent of, where are people going to be? How do you reach out and connect to them? Because, right, it used to be you advertised in TV. And then now TV has the traditional TV has gone away. Now I know that there's more of the ads popping in and there. You've got YouTube, right? But YouTube ads are not a cheap adventure for many.
No, they're not.
So, the question is so then how do you start getting in front of people? And I would say I don't think Twitter is a solution, right? So I know what's interesting to me is there's some talk of some of the people going to Snapchat, but like, how do you advertise on a Snapchat, right? So, again, I think this is going to be, depending on what happens with TikTok, and within the whole Meta universe, it could be a real push to, is there another new platform? Or it could be a place where, and I think this would be, even more concerning, is there's a dead spot. And then how do small business owners reach out to people?
Yeah, well, that's right. About 3 months ago, I started getting into being able to do 30-second video commercials on live stream TV.
Mm-hmm.
Disney Plus, Hulu, and all the Paramount.
Yeah.
And that's where marketers are starting to go to.
Mm-hmm.
If they're trying to if they do away with TikTok, who knows what's going to be next on that end.
Yeah.
And as far as commercial TV, like you said, that's going down. More people are getting away from that. And where are they going? Live stream TV.
Oh yeah. Netflix, Hulu. And I mean that has all changed, right? So I think that things are moving, things are changing. So it'll be interesting to see where this all plays out. And more so than ever, I feel like small businesses are going to have real clarity as to who their people are, where to find their people, and the message is going to have to be quick, succinct, and I think it's going to become more complex to be able to reach out. So that'll be it's definitely going to make things a little bit more difficult, I think, going forward. But it's going to require people to be savvy and again be agile.
Yeah, it's like I said in the beginning. It all comes down to people's mindset. How are they going to go along with this? Like for business owners, they need to sit down and think about. They have to have their mind set on their business when they're in their business, and to their family when they're home. And when they're in their business, they need to look at how do I put it, their mindset of their clients, so they can understand pretty much where their clients are coming from.
Well, and I think the thing that many don't even consider is how their mindset influences their clients. So if you as a business owner are sitting in a scarcity mentality, right, that is the mentality that you will carry out into your marketing. It will be in your sales pitches. It will be in how you greet the world as an individual and as a business owner, how then it can reverberate into your employees. And then you start getting clients that you don't want. And you're like, well, why do I have these people? Like, why am I attracting all these clients like this? And it's like, do you ever stop to think you're sending that energy out? And so you're collecting, it is true. Birds of a feather flock together, right? But so you have to be really intentional to it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I say business owners need to look at their minds, and they need help with it. There's people like you out there to help them.
Yep.
Speaking of which, how would people get a hold of you?
Yeah, the best way to get a hold of me is you can find me on LinkedIn at Margaret De Bruyn, or Margaret De Bruyn. Just look at my name. You can find me on my website at coachmdb.com. You can find me on Instagram at Margaret.DeBruyn. I'd say TikTok, but I don't know if it's going to be there. But probably LinkedIn is the best way to find me.
Yeah, I'm getting back into LinkedIn myself. I was on it before, and then my daughter, of all people, introduced me to Alignable. And I've been on Alignable almost constantly. My wife gets on my case about it.
Well, and you can find me on Alignable as well. I will say that, yes.
But especially now, since I just about a month ago became an ambassador for Alignable. That's putting me more time on Alignable. What I already was. But a lot of people don't realize how much their mindset makes a difference in what they do in their personal life and everything. I've come to realize that because my wife just got done taking a year-long life coach course. And I'm in my office and she was doing it in the kitchen right next door. So yeah, I was picking up bits and pieces of it along the way free of charge. But that actually opened my mind up as some of the stuff stuff that goes on too. A lot of people don't realize what their mindset can involve.
Definitely. And how it can limit them or how it can make the world endless opportunities.
Yeah. And I'm finding more and more people starting to realize, especially after COVID. And I still find people that are still, their minds are still pre-COVID. And I try to explain to them, look, you gotta get over that. It's not going back that far. You have to adapt to the way things are going nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And
Definitely as small business owners.
yeah, I've talked to a couple of business owners that about doing marketing for them to increase their business. Oh, I don't have time for that. I can't right now. It's really okay. You won't have the time.
Yeah, I guess I would say as someone who has had both a brick and mortar and a virtual business, how do you not have time to grow your business? And if you're, I guess my thing would be is, you know, I have been blessed of many experiences, and I was part of a bank that was a small bank that ended up going public, and they grew very fast. And some of their minds, they fell into a mindset of, I don't have time. Look at what I've made. We're good. We don't need to do more. And the reality is it cost them humongously because they got in the mindset that they didn't need to keep growing. They didn't need to keep adapting. And literally they rose, you know, like this rocket ship, and they went like this, and they went like this, and then they went like that. And it really, like, all of a sudden, you know, you had the stock that was going and it was splitting and they were growing. And then all of a sudden it was like down to pennies, right? And so that's something, you know, people have to realize is like, you can't, it's not one of these things where you just, oh, well, I'm good. I don't need to worry about the future. I'm good, because it's going to perpetually stay that way. No, you've got to keep the hustle on.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I was trying to get together with the Chamber of Commerce up here, and she does a podcast with a buddy of mine now. He used to have a morning show on a local radio station. He had a little dispute with the owner of the radio station, so he left and opened up a podcast studio like 3 years ago. And now he's got people that used to have the shows on the radio station now doing podcasts out of his studio with him. One of them is the Chamber of Commerce. So I was emailing back and forth with her and trying to get on her podcast. Her comment to me threw me for a loop. She said, well, my podcast is just for people that are members of the chamber. And I said to myself, I said, so the heck with people who are trying to help your members? Well, it didn't make sense to me.
No, and it also doesn't make sense in the sense of how do you grow the chamber?
Exactly.
Right? What a better way to grow the chamber than to let people see how beneficial it is and have them learn and connect and get a taste of it through the podcast and invite them into the chamber.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I said, well, yeah, okay. So I'm trying to get on my buddy's podcast myself to get in front of these local businesses. Because having a morning radio show for years, he's built up a following, and he was shocked himself. 8 months after he started his podcast, he didn't realize he already had over 800 followers from the radio station. And most of our businesses.
Yeah.
And he has them come on his podcast every so often and promotes them. So I know him pretty well. We used to work for the local newspaper together. He wrote sports. I was in customer service. And he, between his podcast and running his parents' restaurant in town. Plus, he's on quite a few boards in the city, so he's got a lot of connections.
Good.
So he's got the mindset that, yeah, I'm doing what I need to do to be known and grow. I mean, you go in on the last half of the weekend on the weekends into his restaurant, you're lucky if you get a seat. Why? Because all these people know him.
Yeah.
And he's more than willing to help people out. Matter of fact, they have an empty lot beside his restaurant at the corner. And he wants to build a 5-story hotel there. But he was having a hard time getting financing, which I don't understand. So what I do, I gave him a few names of people that can probably help him out with financing. When I first heard about it, he was on the radio. And I said, Teddy, I want one of the first rooms on opening night.
That's awesome. I love that.
We'll see what happens on that. Don't mind me, I get sidetracked at times.
That's okay. It's all, I mean, it's about marketing in a way, right?
Yeah.
It's about utilizing your podcast to market and get yourself out there, to get your ideas out there, to be able to facilitate creating the movement you want. Whatever that movement might be, may it be traction to your restaurant or traction to grow a part of the city.
Yeah, that's right. My website, I changed the name. Well, I had to change the name. I changed it to Mill City Business Help.
Oh, I like that.
Instead of, it used to be Mill City Marketing MA, but I've gotten into more than just a marketing now. Podcast, other things. Just getting into insurance, life insurance in the news. But I've got so many connections on the line of it. I changed it to business help because if I get a client that needs other things besides marketing, or if they have things that I could probably help them out with, but I'm not sure, I've got plenty of people I can send them to. That's why I went with Mill City Business Help.
I like it. Sounds good. Sometimes we have to adapt, right? Like that's you
It's got
being
that little ring
agile.
to it.
Yeah.
It's got that little ring to it. It's like a one-stop shop for businesses.
Yep.
That's my little punchline. One-stop shop for businesses.
I like that. Well, wonderful.
Anyways, and then being an ambassador for Alignable now, one of the requirements is doing in-person networking once a month. So in 4 weeks with a new alliance, it's a kind of a large area. I've built it into 37 members in 4 weeks.
That's a lot of connections.
Yeah. And 30 people showing up that signed up for my first in-person coming up Tuesday night. So yeah, I'm
Cool.
excited. If I can grow just quickly and keep it going. My motto for Tuesday night is going to be, hey, we're all here. Next month, let's everybody bring somebody new.
Yeah, exactly. Wonderful.
But it's going to be interesting. That's another way to market.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's any businesses listening that aren't on Alignable, you probably need to be. You'd be surprised what you can fall into, like my podcast.
Exactly.
I fell into that. I wasn't planning on it yet, but it happened, so it did. Just like I'm in the middle of working on 2 books. One's a business book on customer acquisition, and yeah, I don't know how I managed it, but I'm working on the kids' book too.
I love it. All of those things. It's allowing the creativity, right, in different places. And I think where we when we open ourselves up to abundance and we allow ourselves to open the door to creativity, right? It allows us to explore different avenues that we normally wouldn't have, because we try to keep ourselves limited and in scarcity and living in a box.
Yeah, it's getting out there, getting my brand known too.
Yep.
Anything else you want to bring up?
No, I would just say that if there's anyone out there who is looking for clarity or looking to get unstuck, who maybe has some ideas or some goals rolling around in their head but haven't taken it any further, I will love to work with small businesses to get some real clarity about who they are, where they want to go, who their people are, and how, and then create an action plan, and let's get it done. Because it's so important to, I think, find those things you do well, find those behaviors, patterns, beliefs that serve you, and love them and foster them and fertilize them and nurture them to grow more. But those things that don't serve you, it's important to let them go. And sometimes that's hard. And it may take a sidestep of redefining how we connect with those, behaviors or the people. So often I see things like boundaries, trust issues, caretaking, perfectionism. We think of that all as things within ourselves, but we don't realize how those behaviors we do in one aspect of our life, we do in all. So if we have trust issues in our love life, we have trust issues in our work life. And sometimes it's harder to see those when in the workplace or in our businesses or as we're leaders, right? And so those are things that I help people uncover so that truly they can sit in absolute confidence and be able to grow the business and create the business they want and be the leader of their lives and their businesses.
Yeah, exactly. That's why my wife took this life coaching course. She's looking to help people who have lost babies pre-birth. And because we lost two before born. Actually, it was like 19, 20 years on the same day, which
That's
kind of
that's a lot. That's a lot.
And if we had known that something like that existed out there, it would have been a lot better for us.
Yeah, I can
So
imagine.
that's why she took the course, and that's who she's concentrating on working with to help them get through it. Especially having the experience of going through it ourselves. Because when people think of that, they think, again, it's the way their mindset is. They think of it as, okay, well, it's the mother who births. I get news from it. The father does too.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And it's it's often the, I think as a whole, society does not allow space to grieve, but definitely does not allow men the space to grieve.
Yeah, exactly. I had a one-on-one a couple of months ago with a gentleman, and it was close to the birthday of his daughter that he had lost at the age of 2 or 3. And it was still hurting him so bad that for half an hour, talking on a Zoom with him, all he could do was cry. So now that it's been a couple of months, I'm going to get back to him and see if he'd like to talk to my wife about it.
Yeah, neat.
And see if we can help him out.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. So,
and it's one that there's not many coaches out there that coach people through something like that. So, we'll see how it goes. She's been in contact with the local hospital, and they have a program where they do group coaching, topics like that. Actually, not even, I wouldn't even call it coaching. But they told her who to connect with, and come to find out, it's not part of the hospital. It's a separate, large regional organization that does it. So she could be going very regional.
Well, cool. Well, I'm just really, I think it's, with your marketing background, she's gonna do great.
Yeah, I bring it up all the time. I'm trying to get the word out there, but yeah. If anybody can use that, please feel free to give me a call. Get a hold of me. I'm unalienable. Emails millcitymarketingma@gmail.com. Anybody who's looking for life insurance or anything. Anybody who's looking for anything for as far as business goes, get a hold of me. If I can't help you, I know somebody who can.
Sounds like a great point of contact for people.
So with that, thank you, Margaret.
Thank you for having me.
Emily, any questions for Margaret before she leaves?
I'm not sure, but
Yeah, she is.
I'm not sure, but I think mindset is really important in all parts of life, not just marketing. And I'm sure, like what's one of your favorite, what's your favorite thing about what you do, Margaret?
What? I'll give like a perfect example with a client I can share is client transformation. Yesterday I had a meeting with the client, and when we started the call, I was like, "How are things going?" And they were like, "Oh, it's a rough day." And I was like, "Well, let's talk about it. What's going on?" And it was something that had happened in their office. And what was so great was, in the beginning of the call, it was, "This happened to me," and this, and everything about her was dark, negative, like this is, and we did some mindset shifting and we did some reframing. And by the end of the call, she was like, "Oh my gosh, this happened for me. I'm so glad this happened. This saved me so much time," right? And it was just this about face. And she's like, all it took was me shifting how I see the situation, right?
Right.
And so often I think that's the case, is we think these things are happening to us, right? And we feel like the victim, and we feel like we have no power, and this is going to be, a domino effect to downfall and all of these things. And sometimes when we can just reframe them, when we can step back, pick apart, and see that it's not about us, it's about the other person or other people, and that actually what they did was something that might benefit us, or at least be a neutral play for us, it's a very powerful thing. And so to be able to have someone open up that avenue in their mind, to go from sitting in scarcity to shifting to abundance, to then seeing like, oh my goodness, this wasn't just something that happened, for me. It's something now that I can go in tomorrow and I'm going to be a step ahead of where I was yesterday. And, that's a huge shift. And that's what I love doing for people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So. And Emily, I don't know if you saw, I put my contact information in the chat.
Oh, I did see that. Well, thank you. Got that out there for.
I don't know if it matters, but.
Yeah. If anybody seeing this and wants to connect with you, can certainly have that out there. This has been awesome. But to thank Margaret for coming on, and everybody who has tuned in. Again, we are here every Friday at 5 o'clock Eastern, and I would love to have you come on as a guest. And Margaret, you're welcome back anytime. And love for everybody to check out all of our social media, been Facebook, YouTube, and so on. And all the great work of other people that we're working with. Like Jay Story the Disability Channel, Zach Clayton of the Pack Channel, Marcus Hart of Transforming Media, Martha Gay Brigade Studios, and Earl Williams of West Mindset Podcast. Great work that they do. But until next time, hope everybody has a safe and productive week and stay happy.
Wonderful. Take care.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Margaret.
Mhm.
Thank you.
There you go.